me today is Terence Brocx, Chairman of the Northland Dairy Development Trust. Topically, he's also part of the Far North Water Advisory Group. Hi Terence, how are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Peter. Good to catch up with you.
Good to talk to you too. Thanks for making the time. Terence, listen, farming, particularly dairying, has had a bit of a bad rap of late. Now, of course, all sorts of people are pointing to Northland's primary industry sector as a potential economic lifeboat. Are you enjoying a moment of karma?
Yeah, it's a little bit ironic that back in the 80s, the Labor government wrote off dairying and agriculture as a sunset industry, was the quote. And more recently, through their last election, targeted dairying and agriculture. I think it's probably a little bit premature to rejoice in karma at this stage. I think we've got a lot of water to go under the bridge yet, but certainly the primary industry is business as usual going forward. And yeah, we're sitting here with bated breath and just to see what develops.
Great. Well, as I say, people are pointing Northland's primary industry sector as a potential economic lifeboat. Is it as simple as that, Terence? There are 763 dairy farmers in Northland, running, 8% of the total dairy herds in New Zealand. On what sort of scale do you think they'll experience the impact of COVID, and how long do you see this enduring for?
Yeah, look, we export the majority of our product, so really what happens overseas is going to have a big impact on what happens to our industry. And, you know, let's just watch that and hope that the world doesn't contract to the point where people can't afford quality food. I think from a Northland point of view, dairying in particular is a significant part of the economy, and it brings in about 700 million in payments to farmers. And I suppose that the way to look at it is, you know, farmers have a lot of costs and they have quite a big spend in the community. And on average, it's about $1,400–1,500 a cow as direct costs to running that animal to produce the milk. So I suppose one of the current mottos is be kind. So when you drive up the highway and you see a cow, just consider that cow's there eating grass and earning the local economy $1,500 and quite a bit more on top of that as well. So yeah, no, the great little machines and yeah, contributing quite significantly to Northland. And look, it's not just dairying as well. You know, we have a sheep and beef industry. We have a good and developing horticultural industry as well. So they all play an important role, and therefore I think Northland is in quite a good position.
So you don't see a huge scale of layoffs and unemployment directly on the farm. Would that be fair to say?
No, I don't think so. I think when you look at our business and also other agricultural and horticultural businesses, we basically have to operate. We either operate or we don't, and so we need to milk the cows. We need to employ staff around that. We need to maintain the farm and look after the livestock. So fundamentally, staff are an important part of our business. Where we do see a challenge really is what happens internationally. So we have our core spend of $1,400–1,500 a cow. That's basically fixed no matter what our earnings are. But if the international prices drop, it's that discretionary spend on top of that. You know, we will have to watch our checkbooks, and so that's farm development and those sorts of areas that we generally tighten up on. From the manufacturing point of view, yeah, COVID's causing a few issues at the meatworks around social distancing and that sort of thing. But from a milk manufacturing point of view, I think we still need our tanker drivers. We still need our milk to be processed. So I don't think that'll change either at this stage. Horticulture, they've got their challenges around fruit picking and packing, but I have no doubt that they'll get through that as well.
Okay, but what about downstream, Terence? Research was suggesting that for every dollar earned by dairy farmers, their local community benefits by 50 cents of this money spent within it. And that's because the dairy industry employs, 2,800 people within Northland and supports many, many service providers. So what's likely to happen to those numbers in the short term, are you picking?
Yeah, look, I don't think they will change. Yeah, Northland benefits from around about 700 million in milk price payments. So that's just dairying. And we employ directly on farm about 2,200 people, and that excludes contractors and all those outside support businesses. In the manufacturing side, we employ about 600 in Northland. And again, as I said earlier, I don't think we can make any changes in that. They're a valuable part of our business. So I think people who are employed in the agricultural sector at this stage, particularly dairying, will be probably quite thankful. And that will play an important part going forward in Northland, because we have some baseline industries that are effectively the engine room and will enable us to move forward.
Excellent. Well, that's encouraging. What do you think our priority should be as a region as we look to restart the stalled engines of our economy?
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to do as a region is to protect what we have. So we need to protect the industries that we have that are able to continue, and that's agriculture, horticulture, regional government too. That's important to ensure that continues to function. So in all our service industries, they need to be protected. Our contractors, and whether that's veterinary, our supply stores. So I think that supply chain is important. I think from a regional point of view, we actually in Northland lack a lot of infrastructure, and whether that's sewerage, water, roading. So I think here's an opportunity where central government can assist and start fast tracking some of that catch up in that infrastructure that we need. We have towns that need water systems that we've sort of pushed off and delayed. We've got sewage systems that need to be upgraded. So there's areas there that here's an opportunity. Let's get on with it and getting this, getting on board and fast tracking some of this stuff.
Yep.
And it's interesting. Northland. I mentioned earlier about the horticultural industry, and kiwi fruit has just had one of their first auctions internationally for the season, and the prices received have been very high. And that's really encouraging, that the world in its current scenario sees kiwi fruit as a viable and healthy food. And when you extrapolate that out and put that into the Northland perspective, we've got massive potential in Northland around our horticultural production and development. We've got massive growth up in North Kaitaia, and a lot of that growth is production is going to come on stream in the next year or two. We have massive opportunity in the Bay of Islands area and in the Kaipara area around water storage. And once that storage gets developed, huge potential for some horticultural development, and quite large scale too. So I think Northland, being provincial, is actually in quite a reasonable space. It's whether our government can fast track some of these projects. They are trying to progress down that pathway, but whether they can push even harder, and some of the numbers perhaps need to be a bit bigger financially with their input, and that will attract outside investment coming into those regions, as we've seen recently.
What do our business and community leaders need to be doing to ensure that the regional economy emerges from this well and ultimately stronger than before we went into it? Do you think there is an element of coordination and pulling together that might be required, or is it just simply buckling down and doing what you do well?
Yeah, I think the key thing is recognise that we do have a lot of good skills and valuable people in Northland, and the leaders, whether you regard them as local and regional government or business leaders, really need to come together and develop a strategy, decide what's important. How are we going to go forward and use this crisis as an opportunity? And so I think the leaders certainly have a role to try and develop some form of strategy and then take that forward into making it happen.
So Terence, what do you think are the main lessons that regional New Zealand should have learned since we first heard about COVID-19? And do you think we've learned those lessons in Northland?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's perhaps a little bit early to work out what lessons we have learnt, because we've still got a lot to learn and we still don't know where this COVID is going to take us. I think one of the big concerns I have is around a lack of resilience. And when I talk about resilience, I'm talking not only on an individual basis, I'm talking on from a point of view of small businesses, larger businesses. And from a business point of view, it concerns me that a lot of businesses can't withstand a few weeks of closure and not have the ability to restart again. And one of the things that agriculture is very, very good at is surviving the downturns, whether it be a drought that we've just experienced, or whether it's international prices. We hunker down and we take the actions that are required to get through it. And yep, it's tough, and often there's a lot of criticism involved, but businesses as a whole need to consider how they can become more resilient going forward to enable them to withstand any hits we have. And yet here we are. And how do we go forward from this and improve what we do and make it a better place when we finally come out of this and beat this?
Well, thank you very much. So some general cause for optimism, you believe, for Northland?
Yeah, look, I think Northland is actually entering a phase of quite exciting phase, I think, around where we stand within our country. We've got some really innovative stuff in the agriculture and horticultural regions. We have a tourism industry that I think is going to be able to adapt pretty quickly to the challenges. So no, I'm quite quietly confident. Yeah, we'll have some pain and we'll need to adapt and get through that. But overall, I think we'll get there and come out of it in quite a good space.
That's really great to know. Terence, thank you very much indeed for your time. Lovely to have a chat with you, and all the very best.
Peter, thank you.